Now, turning to another topic, there is a good chance that few of the 25 million American visitors to the Caribbean think of the long history of slavery on the islands. In a rare show of unity among the islands, the 15-member Caribbean communities is calling for Britain, France, and the Netherlands to pay reparations for slavery and slave trade. Laurent Dubois is the author of Haiti, the Aftershocks of History, and professor of Romance Studies and History at Duke University, and he joins us via Skype from there. Thank you so much, Dr. Dubois, for being with us. I do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I think many people might be surprised to hear that the Caribbean islands have a history of slavery. Can you just give us a very quick, brief history lesson?
Well, absolutely. Not only do they have a history of slavery, but they really were, in many ways, the epicenter of Atlantic slavery. Actually, 45% of all Africans transported through the slave trade went to the Caribbean, so far more than came to North America. And this was also a central region in terms of the construction of European economies in the 18th, 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. So actually, it was really very central to world history and to the history of slavery as well.
Yeah, and now some countries or islands seeking reparations. I found it interesting in my reading to find out that there were reparations paid back in the 1800s. What happened to them?
Well, those were reparations not to slaves, but actually to slave owners. So surprisingly enough, at the time of abolition, the British government gave slave owners, basically compensated them for taking away what was considered their property, their human property. And in 1825, Haiti but was isolated politically. They paid an indemnity in order to get diplomatic recognition, and that indemnity also went to slave owners. So the only reparations that have ever taken place have actually were for the side of the slave owners.
Yeah, I find that absolutely outrageous. Can you just sort of make the case why reparations are still important and due today, in modern day?
Well, reparations debates, of course, have raged as for a long time, and they have taken place in the United States as well. An intriguing twist with this new case is that the CARICOM is asking for reparations not for individuals, but for a whole region. So what they're doing is kind of saying an entire region of the globe has poverty, has a kind of dependency on other countries as a result of historical injustices. And that's really what's, I think, particularly significant when these 15 heads of states are taking that position. It's really a pretty strong statement within the current global political and economic order.
As I understand it, Spain and Portugal specifically have not spoken about during the conversations regarding slavery and reparations. Can you shed some light there?
That's actually simply an artifact of the fact through CARICOM, Cuba, Puerto Rico, the DR. So right now, essentially, the countries that are participating are essentially taking to task their former colonial powers. So England, Holland, and France are named for that reason. Spain could easily be named since they actually had the longest period of the slave trade in the Caribbean. So it's more of an artifact of the political climate than of a historical for a historical reason.
All right. Finally, what is the lesson for American tourists as they visit these Caribbean countries or just become aware of this issue?
Well, I think, again, I mean, this history is so deeply embedded in the Caribbean, and it shapes people's understanding and memories. It's something that's shared between the United States and the Caribbean, but the way that it took place in the Caribbean is quite different. In many islands, most people in many Caribbean islands are descendants of enslaved people. And so I think what can surprise is to see political leadership taking such a strong stand. But in some ways, it is a representation of their own relationship to their population, which is a population that has a very strong sense of this history as an injustice that they continue to suffer from in some ways in the present.
Indeed. Dr. Laurent Dubois, thank you so much for your time and perspective. We do appreciate it.